All right. Yep, we got it. Well, it's good to see all of your faces, or at least your names. Hey, Marlene. Hey, everyone else. Happy, what's today? Wednesday. How do I forget that? All so many of you, I see a lot of new names from this series, but many of you know that we've been exploring Wix, and we haven't touched on WordPress yet. We're hoping to get to WordPress today, but we're closing out the series, closing out Wix today, just a few more things regarding the back end of Wix. So if you missed week 1 and week 2 of this series and you're interested in learning a lot about Wix, please feel free to send us an email. We have Tasha from Hustle with us here. She can put our email address in the chat for you. And you can send us an email, or you can visit our Facebook page to see session 1 and 2, where we really explored Wix. Like I said, today we're closing out Wix, so you'll just get the back end of Wix before we jump on over to starting WordPress. So I wanted to kind of set the stage for some of the new names that have not joined us in this series yet. I don't think that we might, because it is a few new names. We may have time to do quick introductions. When I say quick, I mean, tell us your name, and if you have a business, tell us a quick second about your business. We may have time to do that. So we'll do that. And I'm just gonna go based on names that I see in what order. So Marlene, you can start. You can set the precedent so people can.
Oh no, too much pressure.
Get the precedent, keep it at 15 to 20 seconds so they know how short we want it to be.
Oh, that's hard to do. Marlene Kuzer, author, artist, I don't know, a bunch of other things that I do. Maybe too many things, and let me tell you, Magali is wonderful, and I'm very computer challenged, so she's great. She's great. That's all I'm gonna say.
Thank you, Marlene. Thank you, Rick.
Rick Leander, Winston-Salem with LFB Holdings, behavioral economics consulting firm, working on strategy and marketing and pricing and product.
Awesome. Shannon.
Hi, Shannon Brooks. Name of my company is Brooks and Associates, and I'm a financial services specialist.
Thank you. Lorena.
Hey everyone, this is Lorena Munoz Holiday. I'm a podcaster, and I'm also a bilingual financial coach with Financial Pathways, and my podcast is in Spanish about personal finances. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorena. Douglas.
My name is Douglas Van Vliet, and I have a company called Online Smart Mall, which is just a retail company online on e-commerce.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Kathy.
Hi, I'm Kathy. I'm learning some website tips to build my husband's real estate business, a website.
Joy.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Joy Love from the SBA Women's Business Center, Winston-Salem. I'm actually just trying to get some tips to help some of the clients that come through the office. Thank you.
Of course. Barbara.
Hi, Barbara. I'm from Western North Carolina, and I have a bookkeeping business.
Thanks for joining us, Barbara. C. Lyons. And for those that are new with me, if I don't hear from you in about 10 seconds, I just move on to the next person. And you can just type in the chat if you're not in a place to speak. Deshauna, oh, there you go. C. Lyons, go ahead.
How are you guys? I am Carolyn, and
Carolyn.
I'm very pleased to be joining Magali. Great. I am that dreamer entrepreneur that is getting my show on the road. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us again, Carolyn. Okay, Deshauna shared in the chat that her speaker does not work. Destiny?
Hi, everybody. I'm Destiny Charles. I'm currently working on my own clothing line called Destined for Greatness. I'm also the program coordinator at the Center for Creative Economy in Winston-Salem.
I did not know that, Destiny, about your clothing line. Congratulations. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
George?
Good morning. I'm George Glenn. I'm a registered nurse. I'm a musician, getting ready to start a video blogging. So I need to get all the information about that.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, George. Joseph?
Hello, I'm Joe Arena from Winston. I do financial and tax planning.
Great. We have quite a few financial folks today. That's good. Hope y'all connect with each other. Tony?
Hi, my name is Tony Barnes. Hold on. Here we go. Hey guys, my name is Tony Barnes. I am the America Vista at Hustle Winston-Salem. I also help entrepreneurs, specifically solopreneurs, with developing their business and strategy.
Good to have you, Tony. Danette, did I skip you or did you disappear?
I think like I was fixing my volume and all that, so sorry about that. Anyway, I'm Danette Bailey from Bailey Preschool. I am a preschool owner and a children's author.
Thanks for joining us, Danette. And then Kim and Aria. So Kim can go, then Aria. If not, we'll just continue. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. For those that have not met me, I am Magali Yacinth. I got your message, Kim. I'm Magali Yacinth with Hustle Winston-Salem. Marketing Outside the Box is a program that we do in conjunction with the Forsyth Tech Small Business Center every week. We also have partnered with the Flywheel co-working on this program. And when we can be in person again, we will be right back in their spaces having this program. So glad to have you. For those that are just hopping on and joining us, you may have missed it, but I shared that in this particular series, this is week 3. We've already gone through week 1 and 2, where we covered the various ways to develop a website on Wix, and we kind of walked through the process. So I think the link is our email address is already in the chat. And if not, you can also visit Hustle Winston-Salem on Facebook, and you can watch the videos from the 2 previous weeks, or we can email them to you. Whatever works best for you to get that information from the first 2 weeks. So we're going to wrap up Wix in just a moment here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And today, for those that have been with us, if you have any questions regarding Wix before we close out on it, today is the day to go ahead and ask those questions, and then we'll spend the second half of today's session jumping into WordPress, and we'll finish off WordPress next week, and then the final week we'll kind of do a load of everything. Final week in September, we'll do a load of everything as it relates both to Wix and WordPress. So again, if you haven't been with us, hopefully you don't get too lost, because again, we've covered a lot of this. But if you do have questions and you haven't been with us, feel free to stop me and ask your questions. I don't mind going back on anything at all, okay? So just quickly, we'll get back into the system here on Wix. And we created 2 sample sites for those, again, who haven't been with us. We showed everybody the easiest, quickest way to build a site. We won't go through it. And then we kind of went through the editor version of creating a site. And again, today we're going through the backend, and you just click on what I shared last week is when you click on a site that you're editing, it automatically takes you to the back end of the site. And just to set the stage again, we were practicing on a free site. So this isn't a paid account. So there are some features that you'll notice isn't there, but I'll explain the benefit of paid features if it's pertinent to the presentation. So where we're supposed to be today, but before I jump into it, if you have any questions from last week, or if you're just completely lost and you're like, whoa, I need you to back up, just let me know and I'll back up. But if not, I'm going to jump right into the steps of the behind the scenes of Wix. Because again, we've gone through, and I'll show you, we've gone through creating a site, and none of the data on this is correct. We pretty much literally was walking step by step on creating a sample site, I think, when we did this last week. We tried to show the easiest way to do it and adding a blog and everything to it, which is going to be pertinent today, as I heard a few people wanting to create blog sites. But either way, any questions? I want to take a moment and pause before we jump into this part of today's presentation, the back end side. Okay, I'm going to take that as a no and just jump right into it. So for those that were with us before, you know that if you want to just edit the site that you already created on the back end, once you're logged in, you'll just click that. It'll take you to that site. As a reminder, Wix takes a few seconds longer than we're used to load their pages because there's so much content most times. So don't be alarmed if you see that it's taking a minute for your site to pop up when you do that. But today, what we're doing is just making sure your site is set up. And remember, I told you Wix is pretty much very intuitive. Anything that you need to know, they probably have notes and everything there for you. So in this case, what we're wanting to do when you get into this backend, because we didn't fully set up the site, remember, we made it pretty, we did what we wanted to do. And the same thing applies if we were to change the site, the same thing applies to the other site that we created. If we switch to the quick, remember the one that Wix pretty much creates for you that we did it during week 1, same thing applies. They'll tell you there are steps left. In this particular case, there are 6 things that this site has not done yet that we need done. And it just walks you through that process. Okay. So
Douglas would like to know if you can use Wix with WordPress.
Can you clarify that question, Douglas, when you say use Wix with WordPress? What do you mean by that? Is there where you can, I want to make sure I answer that question.
What I was wondering, basically, I should have rephrased it different. I was wondering if WordPress is compatible with Wix, because I know some platforms don't allow you to install WordPress, so I didn't know.
So the answer to that question, if I understand it, is no. You cannot, because they're competing sites. So they're 2 site builders. But I want to be clear about one thing, and we didn't get to this yet, but I'll repeat this again later in today's presentation. WordPress.com and WordPress.org are 2 different things, 2 different experiences. So you may be asking about WordPress.org when you're asking this question. And in that case, there are more things that you can build into WordPress.org because you're literally building a site when you're doing WordPress.org. And that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about WordPress.com. Does that help clarify at all?
Yes, ma'am. Because I already had set up a WooCommerce site and basically got them all set up, but I didn't know because I think Wix, that's really a hosting site, right?
No.
No.
It can serve as that, just like WordPress can, but no, you build a site on Wix as well.
Okay.
So you're trying to figure out what you say. You've already created a site and you've done. What is it that you're aiming to do, so I can make sure you get value in the answer I just gave you?
Okay. Because I'm actually setting up an e-commerce shop, and where customers can buy t-shirts, hats, and everything and customize it if they want it. But the way that I have it set up right now, I use WooCommerce, and but I wasn't sure too much because I tried Wix one time, but you had to pay, it seemed like a lot more money if you wanted any of the store features. So it just seemed like that it wasn't the right thing for me to do at the time.
So I don't have all the details, but one thing I want to share with you, and definitely I encourage you to go back and watch the videos from the last 2 weeks. But so Wix is likely cheaper than all of the other sites. There is a free version. We only went through the free way of creating a site in this session so far. You can always upgrade. You can even see here on this screen, it shows where you can click upgrade, and it shows you the prices that you compare. Wix, and a cost comparison to WordPress, Wix is cheaper than WordPress. Wix, if you pay it monthly, it can run you about $12 a month, or maybe a little less than that. WordPress runs you about $48 a month. So it just depends on what your needs are. Wix, and I'll just do this. I'll go back just a little bit. So for those that have been with us for a few weeks, please just bear with me for a moment. I kind of want to just go back so that Doug and anyone else that have not been with us can see this feature. When you go through the process of starting a new site on Wix, you just click create site. And again, this is going to take you a moment. And I won't go through it all. You choose the type of site that you want. I think I heard you say e-commerce, so you could quickly search for their e-commerce templates. E-commerce store.
Well, actually, that online store that was just up there would probably be more of what I'm doing. But the problem is you cannot use like the plugins and stuff for like your credit cards or nothing like that unless you have the more expensive plan. Because when I checked into it, they was like it was going to be really expensive, and I was like, well, I will try to do it this way. So this is how I've got it right now. But I've always wondered about Wix and people that has used Wix for an online store. And because I know it's very simple to set up, very easy. Because actually I have one of my nonprofits on the free website, on the free plan. But when it comes to online stores, I was not able to do that unless I wanted to pay for the business, which was so much more than what I'm paying now. And I've actually got a business account set up through another hosting provider.
Okay. I mean, I think if it's not within your budget, that's perfectly fine. I think what I want to make sure that you and anyone else that may be wanting to add an online store to their site or only have an online store get out of Wix. And we did cover this a little bit last week as we were creating the site. If you want to add an online store feature to your Wix website, you would click this plus sign that you see here. Let me make sure I'm going the right way here. You'll click that plus sign and it'll take you to your online store. You can build the online store. I think it's Grid that I'm looking for. And I just don't see the word Grid. Did we create one last week? Can somebody remind me? Maybe it's already there.
I don't think so.
Let me look for it. Give me a moment. Oh, store, there it is. Okay, so if you want to create an online store, you want to add that to your website. And again, if you weren't with us last week, you're probably a little lost, but assuming you've already built your website after you watched the videos from before, you click the plus sign that you want to add certain things to your site. You click store and you hit add it to your site. Again, it will add it to whatever page you're on at the moment. So I think in this case, I was on the home page. So it's creating that store and adding it on the home page, or may create a different tab. Again, you give it a moment to do what it's doing. And I wanted to quickly show this feature so you know how simple it is to build it. As far as the cost, it's not going to change the cost of you having the site. And again, this is a free site that we're building, so you can add the store. But if you want to make sales, what he's saying is correct. On any site, particularly any transactions that you want to do on any site, there's going to be a fee. but it's built into your cost. Again, there's different plans. And when you click upgrade, you see the different plans, you decide which one is best for you. I can't tell you that. I don't know your business budget. I don't know your finances, but do know that it is one of the cheaper ones that you're going to find, and where the site pretty much does all the work for you. And again, I'm not going to go through all of this today because that'll probably take us the entire session. But if you have questions, it's literally, you saw how I added store. You can go through each one of these things, change it, change the pictures. You can change the design of it. If you don't want it to look like this, it's really up to you how you change it. You can change the name. If you all remember last week, how we navigate to the menu to change anything that we want in the menu. If you want to change the name of shop itself to something else, you can manage the menu and do that. So I won't go through it unless you all really need that.
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was wondering, in your personal experience, do you choose Wix over WordPress?
It just depends on what my needs are. I have both. I have Wix and WordPress sites. If I'm trying to have a quick user-friendly site, I typically go with Wix. If I'm focused more on blogs and blogging, I typically go with WordPress. So in the case of a store, online store, I would choose Wix over WordPress, but it's all a personal preference. And that's why we're sharing the difference between both. If you're building your own site and if you're managing your own site, and you can make the decision on what works best for you if you're managing it on your own. But I do want to let you know, we talked a little bit about this during week 1. These aren't your only 2 options. There are way more options. These are the most popular options for people that are doing their own site, Wix and WordPress, but Squarespace exists and all of the other ones. We're just not covering those in this series, okay? I hope that was helpful to some extent. All right. So
It was. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So what I really want to stress before we talk a little, start the conversation a little bit around WordPress is making sure that you know how to manage the back side of your Wix site once you have your site looking the way it looks and how you want it set up, and whether you have blogs, whether you have an online store, whatever content you have on your website. Once it's there, we did walk through some of the SEO things you can do while you're building the site, but you can also wait until you're on the back end and do all of that. It's totally up to you, but Wix will tell you steps that you need to do. Typically, if there's something you need done, you see where my mouse is, Wix is going to tell you there are things left for you to set up your site. And you can literally follow those steps to make sure certain things happen. We talked about connecting a domain, and I can't remember who asked the question last week. I think you were asking about whether you can bring in your own domain or whether you must get one from Wix. You can do either one. If you already have a domain purchased, you can go ahead and connect your domain. Now understand, to connect the domain, if you're not going to use whatever default Wix gave you for the site, in this case, I think it's called like Lorena's site or something .wix.com. Like if you don't end up using that as your domain name, you are going to have to pay to connect the domain, meaning you're going to have to upgrade the account, and it'll likely force you to do that before you publish if you connect the domain. So that's one of the first important things you're going to want to know, because most of you probably, like most business owners, purchased your domain months ago, years ago, and just haven't built a site yet because you didn't want somebody else to use your domain. But if you don't have a domain name that you've already purchased, and you do want a domain name, you don't want it to be, Magali.wixsite. Whatever, consulting site, whatever, right? You don't want it to be that. You want it to be something else. And you haven't purchased, you can do it directly through Wix. You'll search whatever. It'll tell you if a name is already taken, or it'll tell you if you, for example, if you try to use our website, hustlews.org, they'll tell you .org is already taken, but it might say .com is available or .whatever is available. and you can purchase that if you want to, right? But it tells you this one is already taken. So you can do that, and it'll literally walk you through the steps. For those of you who find that some of these terms are just not what you're used to, and you need clarity on what is a domain, why do I need a domain? Wix, I tell you, it's very user-friendly. It probably already answered that question for you, okay? If you already have your domain, pretty simple step, right? I told you you'll have to upgrade in order to do it, but if you already have your domain, you basically will click that link. They'll probably offer you something, etc. But when I tell you that step is very simple, you will enter your domain name. It's going to verify that it's paid for. Wherever you purchase your domain, I purchase most of my domains from GoDaddy. All I have to do is go into GoDaddy. Next to where I purchase my domain name, there's typically this thing called, I think, DNS. And Wix will tell you where to find it, what to look for. It's going to ask you, where do you have your domain from? I click GoDaddy, and it gives me step by step what I need to do on the GoDaddy site to connect my domain. It's really simple. And I find that sites like GoDaddy and sites like Wix are very, very customer service friendly. So you can contact them if you're having any trouble with connecting those things. So,
Magdalene,
yes.
I got a question about the domain name and website. I have a domain name and I have a website already, but I didn't do it. Somebody else did it for me. So is it going to be a problem if I use that domain name on the Wix site also? Can I have both or no?
You can't have the same domain name. If you want to use the same domain name, you would have to connect that domain name to your Wix website. You can't have it connected to two websites.
Okay, that's what I figured. You can't, it's to get one or the other. You can't have two websites.
Correct. And if you remember last month when we talked about SEO, remember how the website crawling works. Remember how Google Analytics work. You can't have Google. Well, Google won't. I mean, the internet won't let you have those two.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't happen. It's not a thing.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
I thought I'd ask.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good question. So this only applies for those of you who add a blog to your site, and it'll walk you through the steps, whatever. You connect your domain. And then the second thing out of these steps that I want to point out, and again, if depending on what you added onto your website, this list could be longer or shorter, okay? The list of things you need to do to complete your website. But out of the site that we created last week, I wanted to show you about the domain piece. And then the other thing is I want to show you quickly the SEO piece of it. Again, we walk through certain pages and making sure you added certain titles, but Wix will literally make this, if you do no other step for your website, make sure the internet can find you, make sure Google can find you, and follow these steps that Wix takes you through, okay? You don't need to pay for a Wix professional. You can ignore that piece because again, it's simple enough, okay? And again, if you are not familiar with SEO, I strongly encourage you reach out to us and get last month's presentation where we talked all about SEO, and we did it intentionally before we talked about websites so that you can understand things about the important things you need to know about your keywords and how to get your website ranked and all of that, okay? And literally you follow the steps. Again, we're probably not going to go through every single step, but I just want to show you how quickly you can, all of that stuff we talked about, you can make it not a headache for your life, and you can just follow these steps because it's literally that simple. And some of this stuff should look familiar to you as we talked about Google, finding yourself on Google. I can't remember the term right now, but all of this stuff, making sure you're addressing all of that stuff. You just follow it, and it's more steps, but it just takes you through it. We're going to say it's an online business, whatever, you'll just literally go through the steps. It's that simple. And then what happens is Wix create an SEO plan for you. If you put in, my keywords are consulting. I don't remember what type of business we said it was. I'm going to say food. I have no idea. Eat, right? And when you're done, Jesus, I put that all as one. You're supposed to put in 3. When you're done, you'll click create SEO plan, and you just follow that SEO plan that it comes up with for you, okay? And when you're done with whatever steps if there's more steps left, you just go back to set up my site and go through the steps to set up your site. This is the area that's going to be important to you when you're first creating your website, because it's going to literally walk you through it. Now, when you've gotten all of that and you're pretty confident in it, if you're not someone who decided, that you're going to have regular emails going out and you don't want like a separate email system and things of that nature, there are certain things you can manage through your Wix. Let's just say you don't want a MailChimp or a Constant Contact or whatever. You can do some of that same email marketing through your Wix site. A lot of these features, as you start to go through them, you're going to realize does require that you have a paid account. So you kind of decide what's worth you paying for or not. But you can go to this SEO section of your back-end site and see what's important to you. Does it help? It helps you create some social posts. It can kind of be your hub. Your website could be your hub and your home for a lot of this stuff. So you just kind of go through each one and see what's important to you. Again, you all know that you can always reach out to us and we can help you if you have questions about any of the features that you're trying to figure out. And then you also can reach out directly to Wix. This is going to be important for you which I think you should care, if you care enough about knowing how your website is performing. You're going to want to make sure that you have your analytics set up. I think someone asked me last week, can they add people to their website? Like someone to also be able to edit or handle their finances or something. The question, I think I answered the question was yes, and I would walk you through that today. You can do it. I think you can do it under site actions as an option. Yep, where it says invite people. Under site actions, it says invite people. Or generally, you can also do it right up under here if you want to invite people to your site. So you would just click the link in either location and you would say, this is who I want to add. hustlewsinfo@gmail. By the way, that's the email address if you need anything from us that you would email. And you put that person's role on what do you want that person's role to be? What access do you want them to have? Are they just writing blogs for your site? Is this somebody you brought onto your team to just do blogs? Is this somebody you brought on your team to just manage money and sales or whatever the case may be? Or you might want to give them full access. You can do that as well. So you decide what that person's role will be. You can also create a role for them. If you don't see a role that you need there, you can create whatever role you need. So again, I can't remember who asked the question last week, but hopefully that helps you see how you can quickly invite someone to have access to the back end of your site to help you manage your site as well. And then Lorena asked the question, I think your question was around accessibility. Now, Lorena, a lot of the accessibility that you're going to do, you're doing it while you're building the site. And is this the site? I can walk you through that again. Let's see if this gives us an option for accessibility. When you're putting in the information, most times if it's something on your site that you can add accessibility features to it, it will give you the option to do that. I don't think this page would. Let me see something real quick. I know I showed you last week, but I'm hoping to find another feature to remind you on the site how to do it. So let's just say we go to the home page, because I think we had something on the home page where we added accessibility. Did we get rid of the pictures? We must have. But let's just say we want, hopefully this has some type of accessibility feature. Give me a moment to see. Nope. Normally, if it has one, it's there. It'll automatically give you the option for accessibility. I thought we left a picture here for that purpose. But for those that are unfamiliar, basically what you're saying is you're making your site friendly to those that may be visually impaired or something like that. And sometimes websites have access to do that. And sites like Wix and WordPress and all of these Squarespaces, those are built in to let you know when you have that option. And you can typically just decide when to add it or not. This is supposed to be a picture and I don't know where it went, but it's that simple, Lorena. Like you would right click, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing on this screen, but you would right click on a feature, and generally, if it's an option, when you click settings, it pops up as one of your settings options. And this one just must not have it. And I don't know why. I don't know why we can't see the image, but typically the image, it'll pop up as accessibility will pop up as an option. And I just do not see it. But I'll try to find another feature to show that again, Lorena. But if not, we did show it in last week's video, so you can see that again, okay?
Sure,
I'm trying to remember if there are any other questions from last week before I switch over to WordPress. Any other questions about Wix from the last 2 weeks that we did not cover that you may have questions about as it relates to Wix in general? Most of these things you see back here, you could literally go step by step and see what works for you, what makes sense for you, what you don't really care for. And again, we covered a lot of this stuff in the last 2 weeks as it relates to your apps and things of that nature. Anything?
One quick question. I see on that top MailChimp, those where they start collecting emails for you to build campaigns. Any advice? Because I think many of them have a threshold, like 0 to 1,000 email, you can try them out for free. Because I'm trying to not spend a lot of money, especially in the early beginnings when no one knows about me. But then,
so are you talking about right here?
Yeah, that MailChimp.
So this is just my defaults that I have on my website, on my computer. But so this is not connected to Wix. This is just on for me. But to answer your question, I want to make sure that I made that clarity that this is not connected to Wix. This is just my shortcuts on my website, on my computer.
Oh, okay.
But
as a general question, any advice on building? Because I do see like sending that reminder when I get a podcast out or when I have a new benefit or something that I wanna everyone know. Because I have heard it's really, really beneficial, even if you don't have anything to offer on that day one, that you have that option to subscribe for news and you start building that database of email addresses, because that's what's going to bring the money later on. So any advice of any of these companies, MailChimp or any of that are good and not expensive?
So I think, just like most things, all of those things are based on your needs. I use MailChimp, I use Constant Contact, and I've used, can't remember the name of the third one because I don't use it anymore. MailChimp allows you to have a free account up to 2,000 emails. So you can have a free MailChimp account and send your emails regularly to your mailing list. So it's a good site. I mean, it's a good platform. I think if you are sending out pretty much regular emails, things of that nature, I like Constant Contact a lot. It also has a free feature, but I think MailChimp's free version is better than Constant Contact's free version, in my opinion, but I like Constant Contact better. I use both, but I have the paid version of both. So really, I would suggest, using the free version of any ones that you like, and then deciding which one you're going to pay for, because you do get a lot out of the free version. So it's really up to you, Lorena. When we did the email marketing session back in September, we did provide a list of email marketing platforms to choose from. I think Dominique Barcy was our presenter at that time, and she provided a list, and I think you can take your pick at what works for you, because a lot of them offer free versions.
Thank you.
All right, I think unless when you all go back and watch the presentations from before, if you have any other questions about Wix, I think we're good to move over to start WordPress.
There was a question from
Okay.
Deshauna.
Okay.
I'm not sure, Deshauna, I'm sorry. I don't know. It could just be me. But she wanted to know what the site was called. And when I asked for clarification, she said the site you use instead of paying for it. She wanted to know, well, Magdalene, you said earlier something about the site that Wix had available for you, but if you wanted to use your own, you would have to pay. And she just wanted to know the site name. I think we're still talking about Wix, and it just has a free version and paid options, but I'm not sure.
I need clarity on the question. So is the question, what site is what?
The site that you can use instead of paying for it was the original question.
Instead of paying for what? For what? I'm confused. Can you clarify in the chat? I think Deshauna's mic wasn't working.
Yes.
So let me know when the question clarity pops up in the chat, and I can come back. I'm not quite sure what's being asked. Okay.
I think it's that Wix has free option and then a paid option. But if it's not, Deshauna, please let me know. But I did just want to ask Magali. But yes. Okay, yes, that's what she means. Okay. Then never mind. I answered the question. My bad for interrupting. Please continue.
No, you're fine. I still don't know what you answered, but I'm glad you
She wanted to know, you said that there was a free way. There was a free site, and pretty much it's just clarifying that Wix has a free option, and then you can also pay for Wix. So it's all on the Wix website.
Yeah, okay. And I think, Deshauna, you may benefit again for all of those that missed week 1 and 2, looking back at those presentations to see how we went from nothing to a site, okay? Because it's very, very simple. I don't want to go through it all over again for those that have already seen it. So if you do have more questions regarding Wix, let me know, send us an email, but I think we are good to hop over to WordPress. Given a moment to make sure anybody has questions, but I think we're good for that. All right. So as I mentioned to Doug, I believe it was earlier, WordPress.com and WordPress.org are 2 different sites. We are working off of WordPress.com, and I want to make that distinction very early so no one is confused. WordPress.org is, you're still pretty much building a site from scratch if you're talking about WordPress.org, and that's not what we're going through in this series. We are going through WordPress.com, because WordPress.org, you download a feature and it's a whole different process, okay? So with that, and we're comparing WordPress and Wix. With that, before we jump into WordPress, very similar process with Wix as far as if you already have an account, you would log in. If you don't, when you click start your website or get started, it's going to prompt you to create a username, password, all of that stuff, right? So just like Wix, I already have an account, so I'm just going to log in. Don't worry, you shouldn't see any passwords. So I'm just going to log in, and I use WordPress in high school. I can't believe I still have this account. Sorry, let me log in. But so what we're going to do today, and WordPress, the difference with the first step of WordPress versus the first step with Wix. WordPress, you immediately are going to create a domain, whether it's a free one that which is going to have the WordPress logo on it, or whether you have a paid domain. That's going to be the first step. So we're going to create a new site. That's the first thing WordPress is going to ask you. What is the name of your site? You can skip it, But unlike Wix, WordPress is it's gonna bring it back to your face in like the next 5 minutes. So really there's no point. You can change it later, but you want to name it something for the purposes of you creating your site. So we're gonna say this site is called I Like Food. We're gonna call it I Eat Food. I Eat Food. That's gonna be the name of the site, right? So again, WordPress, it brings you right into the domain up front, unlike Wix. Wix kind of handle that later. You go through this process, whatever. If you want to pay for it, that gives you the options and lets you know these are your options. But if you want to stick with the free version, just keep in mind, similar to Wix, it's going to keep that WordPress logo on I Eat Food. And in most cases, what WordPress does is add a number based on which your name is going to be. So again, WordPress, I think, pretty much forces you into deciding you're going to have to pay for a domain, whether you choose theirs or whether you already have your own domain. Okay. In this case, we're going to stick with the free version. We're going to click continue. So the free version of WordPress versus Wix. WordPress has obviously, if for those that remember Wix, WordPress is way more limited in your themes and options that you have. However, and as we go through this process, you may hear me say this a lot. If you are wanting your site to primarily serve as a blog site, I strongly recommend WordPress over Wix. And that's because WordPress was initially designed for blogging way back when, and they have way more features catered to blogging. If you are a strong blogger, you're going to immediately realize Wix blogging compared to WordPress blogging is not the same, and WordPress is better when it comes to blogging. Overall business site, I would choose Wix, but if blogging is going to be a huge part of your business, which many of you know from last month, that impacts SEO. So blogging and SEO is kind of a thing. But anyways, you choose whichever one you want, whichever theme or platform you want as your next step. In this case, we'll just go with this one. And then we're going to start to get to work. I'm going to walk you again through the steps. Please note, everything we learned from Wix during the first 2 weeks is going to be slightly, almost very different. So your notes for Wix, keep them separate from your notes from WordPress if you're going to consider a WordPress site, because the process is it's a little different. They use different terminology. I'm sorry if you hear a dog barking outside. They use different terminology, so you have to kind of keep in mind, catch me sometimes if I say something that I didn't already explain in some of the earlier sessions. So the first thing is asking you is if you like the font for the site that you created. Again, experts created these sites or these default sites, and they thought that these were the fonts that worked well. Can you all hear me? I switched to my AirPods and I want to make sure you can still hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I can hear you. Perfect. The dogs were really, I couldn't hear myself anymore. But so that's, and again, as you can see here with WordPress, unlike Wix, you saw all of the features we showed you with the fonts. This is what you're going to get with the free version of WordPress. And you may think, oh, well, Wix is better because it gives you so many more options. And that's up to you. I'm a fan of Wix, but I'm also a fan of WordPress. And I think that what's important for me to point out to you is that sometimes less is best. So it's almost limiting you to say, these are the choices you have for this website. Pick what you want, instead of 50,000 websites and 50,000 fonts, and you're designing your site, you get too fancy and your site looks crazy and So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world that it's limiting you to certain font styles. So let's just say I like Playfair. I want my website to be changed to the Playfair and Fira Sans, whatever that means, font. So that's what I switch it to, whatever you want. Very simple, right? You move on, and it's going to ask you certain features that you want for your site. One thing I will say to you before we move on from this point is what you'll immediately recognize is that WordPress is going to try to push you into a paid site way more than you recognize with Wix. And that's because a lot of their features requires that it's paid, like plugins, for example. Plugins is the equivalent of ads. Not ads, apps, excuse me. Plugins is the equivalent of apps. So when we covered apps for Wix, that's the same thing you're going to see with plugins. That's the different terminology, but it's the same thing. Plugins is WordPress's version of apps added to your ad. The difference is Wix had a number of apps that you can add at no cost to your website. You cannot add plugins to a free WordPress site. You would have to pay for a WordPress site in order to add plugins. They probably have about 4 default plugins built in that you can remove, but you can't add any plugins without paying for a site. So just wanted you to know that particular thing. So you would choose the features that you want for your site. Most people want 80% of the features you see. So let's just say we will want a store. We'll want video storage because we're going to put some videos, and we're definitely going to want image and SEO, right? Let's just say those are the 4 things we know that we're going to need. So you choose them, you continue. So just like I told you, Wix is going to, Wix, excuse me, I keep messing up these names. WordPress is going to automatically try to push you into or tell you what it is. So it's not the end of the world, again, for you not to choose any of those, and we're going to go back and do that. We're not going to choose any of them, but I wanted you to show you this is what it is for WordPress is very forthcoming with their cost. They're letting you know it immediately, so you know what you're getting yourself into. There's no building the whole site, and then at the end you realize there's a cost in some cases, right, compared to other sites. And I appreciate that about them. So let's just say we don't want any of them, so that we can move on for the purpose of this. We're going to skip it for now. What did I click to say I want $8? Let's go back. I must have kept something. No, why did it do that? I don't know why it's doing that. I must have something that I said I want paid. But we don't want a premium site, so we're going to completely skip this. Oh, this is where it is. So you saw what I just did. I don't want the same thing to happen to you. So it shows you all the plans. You want to choose that first one that says 0 and free. Okay. And you see how quickly I couldn't find it. So once you choose those features, it brings you to your default site. And then we're going to walk through this. We're going to probably not walk through the steps today because we have 6 minutes and I just realized that. But again, setup is very different than what we went through with Wix. It's very different as far as how you see things, where you're changing things. So let me just highlight a few things and then we'll walk through this in more detail next week. But essentially, this is your motherboard of how you're making edits. This is Wix, this is WordPress's editor version. This is how they make all of their edits. This is how you add things to your pages. This is how you edit things that are already on the page. If you do something and you want to change it, this is where your undo will be, things of that nature. So this is kind of your menu to do everything that we're going to do over the next week or so. So every feature of your site, and again, we're going to walk through this in more detail next week. Every feature of your site, as you go through it, you'll notice this area changes because it's changing to whatever we're going to edit. And you'll see us walk through that again. You'll see us go through this in detail next week. I want to point out with WIX, so why do I keep saying WIX? Excuse me, with WordPress, I want to point out the page versus the blocks. You'll see when you're editing certain things, like it will automatically switch over. And you want to know that for when you're adding things, so you can know when you're adding a block or editing a block, et cetera, et cetera. And again, I'm going to make sense of all of this next week. I don't want to go into too much detail with 4 minutes left, but and similar to Wix, as we make edits and want to see them, we'll be able to preview, change, see how it'll look. When we get into the menu pieces, you'll be able to see how it looks on certain devices. So one device that Wix doesn't offer that WordPress offers is Wix. WordPress also lets you see what it looks like on a tablet. And we didn't get that feature on Wix. They just showed you mobile and computer. So we'll see a laptop view or screen, a monitor view, a mobile view, and a tablet view on WordPress. So we'll go through all of that. Again, I don't think it's wise for me to start getting into it right now with 3 minutes, but are there any initial questions about WordPress or about anything we discussed today before we jump into it next week?
Yes, I do have a question. Where do I go to find the previous week's information?
So you can do two things. I think that was George, right? George?
Exactly, yeah.
So there are two things you can do. You can send us an email, and I think maybe Tony or Tasha may have put our website, our email address in the chat. And if they haven't, they'll probably do it right now. But you can send us an email and we'll send you the links to the presentations from last 2 weeks. Or you can visit Hustle Winston-Salem on Facebook. Let me see if I can go to our page. Oh, wait, that might have been us. If you go to Hustle Winston-Salem on Facebook, which is where I was, but Facebook does a lot. And you go to our videos section on our page, click videos, you will literally find all of them here. And what we've done, particularly for marketing outside the box, because we find that a lot of people need to come back to the videos, you can just go to where it says playlist, scroll down on the videos page and go to playlist and search for the 2021 virtual marketing outside the box sessions. And we tend to update them within the same day or at least within 24 hours of today's session. So you can find, looks like, wait, we do have last week. Let me see. You can find session 1 as well as session 2. I'll just move session 2 up here. I don't know why it's not there, but you can find them on our site. But all we do when we send it to you is get this link and send it directly to you.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, either way. Any other questions? Well, I know we are right at time. So again, I don't want to jump into WordPress with that little bit of time left. If you do review, let me stop sharing my screen. If you do review the WIX presentations from the last 2 weeks and you still have questions when you come back next week, that's okay. Don't feel like you are annoying me. I love answering questions. But our goal for next week is to get through WordPress. I want to get through WordPress in one session, hopefully. Wix kind of took us 2.5 sessions. And that's good. That's good. I think people got a lot of value out of it. But next week, I want to hopefully get through WordPress in one full session. And if it's okay if we don't, we can close it out on the last week, because I want to spend the last week really giving you some comparisons, some pros and cons, and just a few details. And I know some people are building their sites as we go through the session. So I also want to give you an opportunity to use that last week to ask anything that you want. I'm not quite sure yet if he's available, but we're trying to get one of our board members who really is good at this as well to join us to kind of give you more creative aspects behind it. but I'm not sure if he'll be available. But other than that, you're very welcome, Melanie. Other than that, if you don't have any other questions, thank you so much for joining us. I think I wanted to share a lot of stuff with you all about things coming up, but I'll do that next week because my mind is just everywhere. But yeah, if you don't have any questions, please feel free. I'll stick around as always for about 5 minutes or so. You're welcome. For about 5 minutes or so if you have any questions about anything. But if not, enjoy the rest of your week. And let me go ahead and stop sharing on the live.